the only, the Dallas Mavericks, a Western Conference Finals rematch in Minnesota. The Mavs win a very impressive win for this team, 120-114 over the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Mavericks coming off the second night of a back-to-back. Not only that, but a second night of a back-to-back with travel. We heard Luka talk about it after the game. A couple other people talked about it after the game that they played the night before. Usually, I thought they tried to get rid of these back-to-backs where you play less than 24 hours after you played originally. I thought they got rid of those, but I guess I'm wrong. But yeah, they finished their game against the Jazz. Leave, don't get to Minneapolis until like 3 in the morning, and then they have a basketball game to play at 6:30, and they play very good. 120-114. I guess I say very good, and I do think this team played well, just a really, really solid team game. But it was, we're still waiting for a couple of things to happen. The 3-ball got there, 41% from 3. We're still waiting for this team to have come out the gates firing. In all 4 of their games so far this season, the Mavericks have come out the gates a little bit slowly. In fact, if we were just to go to NBA.com right now and look up the team stats, I'm willing to bet you a decent amount of money that this team is towards the bottom, if not maybe at the bottom, when it comes to offensive rating in the first quarter. It's been a sluggish start to pretty much every single game so far for the Mavericks. I'm about to sneeze, and I'm going to let it rip. That was a weird sounding sneeze. It was because I was talking. I was talking mid-sneeze. I don't know what that one was. That sounded like a good sneeze. Kind of manly. Wow. Okay. Anyways, the Mavericks kind of come out the gate a little bit slowly, but they pick it up, and they picked it up last night. They finished 41% from 3 land. And we were talking about this before we started recording on the stream, that Luka is currently, if you want to look at it through field goal percentage, on probably the worst 4-game shooting stretch of his career to start this season. Through 4 games, he's sitting at 36% from the field, 26% from 3. He has 107 points on 99 shots, 47% true shooting. I mean, no two ways around it. This is one of the more inefficient stretches of Luka's career. There's a couple of reasons for that, I think, and I don't want to get too deep into it. I am making a video about Luka here later today just because he's the biggest troll we've seen in quite some time. I mean, it's fucking hilarious what this guy's got going on, but I think a lot of it is settling for tough middies and just getting some rust. He's not, I don't think he's fully ready to embark on 48 minutes of getting downhill, absorbing contact, getting to the rim, beating guys off the dribble. That's taxing work. And I don't think he's quite ready for that just yet. Not to say that, who knows? Maybe that step back 3 that he hit into the shot clock, 32 feet away from the basket. He's telling everyone, that's what I fucking do after he made it. Like, maybe that gets him rolling and going in the right direction. Very well could be the case. But it is, I would say it's a pretty good sign for the Mavs that Luka's having a stretch like this to start the season, and you're 3-1. You've had a couple of unimpressive wins for sure, but you're taking care of business. And as I look up these stats, the Mavs are 23rd in offensive rating in the first quarter of games, so not nearly as bad as I was expecting. Their defense has been really good, really all season long, but especially in the first quarter, 102 defensive rating. So even though they're not scoring, they are still getting the job done with their defense. So what does that mean for their second half? What is their second half? Last year, this team was a great second half team. We remember that. I just have to assume this team has been pretty solid so far in the second half. And wouldn't you know it, they're 10th in net rating. That's actually, that's not what I was expecting. So I was hyping that up for nothing. Sorry about that. Anyways, really impressive win for this Dallas Mavericks basketball team. Kyrie Irving, 35 points. He was phenomenal. Aggressive, assertive, getting to his spot, attacking the drops, whatever the case might be. I said this on Locked On last night, but whenever he gets going, those little mid-range pull-up jumpers, those little elbow jumpers, they just feel like layups. Like it just feels like it just feels like they, are automatic. It's incredible. He was phenomenal last night. And top to bottom, PJ Washington has had 2 really, really good games in a row for this Mavericks team. All over the court, defensively, making plays. Only 1 steal in this game, but, just being what the Mavericks wanted him to be as a defender, this big 4 who's physical, who's big-bodied, who's strong, and you just feel his size whenever he's out on the court. Oh, you feel his size. Yeah, I know what I fucking said. You feel his size whenever he's on the basketball court. So kudos to him, man. He's been playing some really, really good basketball. This team is a second half in a lot of ways. Second half of the game merchants, second half of the season merchants, second half of the series merchants. Yeah, you're not wrong there. You're not wrong. They like settling in. They do. They like feeling out the game. They're like a boxer in a lot of ways. Klay Thompson only 7 shots in this game. They were shutting that off, and you could see how that's actually exciting. How the Timberwolves said, we're shutting this Klay valve off. We're not letting Klay shoot a bunch of threes. And even some of the threes Klay got up were tough shots. We're not letting Klay see some threes go down. You also have to take away the roll. So now all of a sudden so you're taking away Klay Thompson. You're taking away the rolls, the pick and roll guys. Now, what does that mean for Luka and Kyrie? Those guys get to operate in space? Well, good luck. And Kyrie picked him apart last night. And Luka, down the stretch, when his team really needed him, hit some very, very clutch shots. So, hey, beautiful. They were face guarding Klay all the time. Yeah. You see the ant numbers of Klay on him? No. Was Klay clamping him? No, yeah. Klay's not somebody who's going to average 20 points a game. I saw Chuck said that last night. That's not going to happen. Okay. It just won't. I cannot ever imagine this Mavericks team generating 3 different 20-point-per-game scores. They'll have 2 with Luka and Kyrie. I cannot envision a world in which there's a third added into that mix. And it will not be Klay. But that's okay, though. That's all right. The Mavs bigs were great again last night. Daniel Gafford had his best game of the early season, 14 points, 6 of 6 from the field. Derek Lively, 2 of 3. So those two combined to go 8 of 9. He had 5 points. Derek Lively was awesome again last night. 4 offensive rebounds. He's averaging 4 offensive rebounds a game. I mean, that opens up so many things for this Dallas Mavericks team. They just look like a very well-rounded basketball team so far to start the season. Najee Marshall made some plays defensively, and Quentin Grimes did some things as well. And Spencer Dinwiddie, I thought, looked pretty good in his minutes despite the fact that he was 1 of 5. So a lot of things going right for the Dallas Mavericks. They also only turned the ball over 9 times, and they forced 20 turnovers. And that was kind of the story of the game. They take 93 shots compared to the Timberwolves' 77. So just typically, you take 15, 16 more shots than the other team, you have a very good chance of winning the basketball game, and that's what the Dallas Mavericks did. So kudos. Good job, boys. Good job. That was absolutely the game. And let's talk about the Timberwolves a little bit here. So last year, they were the best defensive team. They're one of the best defensive teams we've seen in a long, long time. They got comparisons to the Detroit Pistons, like the best defense since the Pistons. That's what people were saying. And then, of course, the playoffs came around, and they had some really, really great defensive performances in the postseason. What they did to Phoenix was disgusting. The defense they played at times against the Nuggets was disgusting. And then the Mavericks walked into town and just shitted on them. I mean, just full disclosure, straight up, shitted all over them, right? And so far this year, their defense, and this is kind of difficult to believe, but their defense is struggling out the gate. 112 defensive rating. 13th in the NBA. We're 4 games into the season. Okay. Just on the other end, Mavericks top 10 in defense so far. We like to see that. 13th in offense. I thought the defensive rating would be a little bit better, but you got some teams that don't belong here in the top 10 that are just kind of fucking around and hanging around a little bit. It'll even itself out. But this Timberwolves team, and this isn't just based off this Mavericks team. This has just been from what I've seen watching them so far this season. They don't pack the same punch defensively, really. Cat gave them this level of size that was intimidating. Julius Randle's a big physical player as well, but defensively, you don't really feel that, right? You don't really feel that the way you felt the size when Cat was on the court next to Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert, for some reason, the Dallas Mavericks just, lick their fingers whenever they see Rudy Gobert. They lick their chops. They lick their lips. What other body parts do they lick? I don't know. They lick them. They love seeing Rudy Gobert walk into that building. they love it. Mike Conley looks old. I mean, it makes me feel sad because I love Mike Conley. He's one of my favorite players in the history of the sport. But he looks old out there, and it shows. And Jaden McDaniels has really struggled so far to start this season. You guys know I've never been like I'm not as bullish on Jaden McDaniels as pretty much anybody else. I'm still waiting. I still feel like Jaden McDaniels is a pure hypothetical player. Like, he's a good defender. He's a great defender even, obviously. I would not put him in the elite upper echelon as guys like Herb Jones, right? Or Alex Cruz when it comes to perimeter defense. I would not put him up there, okay? And offensively, he's just a complete and total shit show, in my opinion. I mean, you're really just banking on, like, you're really just putting way too much into the one good game he has every 4 or 5. Yeah, Nickeil Alexander-Walker's a good player. And Dante DiVincenzo's is a good player on the perimeter, but they're not as big anymore. And it really shows. And Kyle Anderson was kind of a big departure for them as well. He was big for them in the regular season. So, defensively, this Timberwolves team won't be as elite as they were last year, I don't think. So that means their offense has to be a little bit better. And it will. I mean, you see the 3-point barrage that they went on. They shot 48% from 3. I went back and I looked. I was like, how often is it that a team puts up, like 39 threes, hits them at a 48% clip, and loses? Because I thought we'd be talking about something like historic last night. And it's happened like 20 times over the course of NBA history. So pretty rare. But as you can imagine, all 20 of those times have happened in the last 3 or 4 years, as the 3-point volume has increased dramatically. But for this Timberwolves team, 20 turnovers. This was a problem that plagued them last year. This was a problem that really plagued them in the Western Conference Finals. It starts, the head of the snake, Anthony Edwards. 5 turnovers in this game. He has a turnover problem. He does. It's what's preventing him from getting to that next level. Everybody wants Anthony Edwards to be an MVP candidate. Everyone wants him to be a top 5 guy in the league. We saw in the first quarter, 26 points in the first quarter of the game, just bombing threes. Nobody's attempting more threes per game currently than Anthony Edwards. He's up to 13.3 3-point attempts a game. 13.3. I mean, that's insanity, man. That's crazy. And he's knocking him down at a high clip as well. So if that holds, you got to give him some props. I did misspeak. He's not averaging the most 3-point attempts per game. Who is then? He has shot 53 threes, which is the highest in the league so far to start the season. Who is shooting more threes than that? 13.3? Who's putting up more? Hield? Is Buddy Hield really putting up more than 13 threes a game? No, he's at 9. He's at 9. There's no way Buddy Hield's putting up that many threes. Maybe Steph? No, it's not Steph. Okay, well, maybe they don't have the per game stuff there yet. But anyways, great first quarter scoring-wise for Anthony Edwards, but 5 turnovers in this game. It's a problem for this team. The Mavericks took advantage of these turnovers, and you see it down the stretch, right, of games like this, where the Mavericks are a basketball team that will not turn the ball over. Only 9 turnovers. They know what they want to be in crunch time. They have 2 guys that get to their spots every single time, in Luka and Kyrie. And the Timberwolves are still waiting to get to that point, and they will not be a serious championship contender until they do. That's just the reality. So a nice win for the Mavs. Timberwolves are going to be a very good basketball team. They're going to be a very, very good basketball team. They're still figuring some stuff out, which is what makes this win more impressive for the Mavericks, is that they're still figuring stuff out as well. And they're 3-1 and just had a very impressive win on the road.